Hi, Ajahn Brahm here.
Hello, Ajahn.
Yeah, just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's fine. Since Ajahn is here, may I invite everyone to pay respect to Ajahn?
Very good.
Let me start the recording as well. Wait.
Okay. So I'm about 5 minutes early. So again, what would you like me to do this afternoon for the 2 hours?
Yeah, it will be a talk followed by a Q&A. But
Yeah.
the time is flexible, so yeah, Ajahn, you can decide when to start the Q&A.
Yeah, I thought maybe about 40. Is there lots of questions already?
I think there are 29 questions.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay, well, look, I will give a sort of talk for maybe 40 minutes, a shorter talk, and then we can open up for the questions. Is that a good idea?
Yes, great. Thanks, Ajahn.
And then we can have like a break, just after the talk is finished, then for the questions, and then a meta meditation at 4:30.
Yes, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Ajahn.
Awesome. Please let me know if there's anything else you want me to do. I'm at your service this afternoon.
It's such a blessing to have Ajahn serve us. I think, yeah, I'm not aware of any other things. I'm not sure if our chairman Gerald or Dada want to say anything.
Ajahn Brahm,
Yes.
this is
Yeah.
Gerald. Towards the end, that is after the metta meditation and blessings, could you please say a few words about the project in MBM so that everyone is being updated? And then to complete today's event, I will say a few words and explain to everyone as to how they could support and continue to support this project.
Okay, can do. That's easy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're still waiting for people to come online, to come in.
Wait for another few minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes in. Okay.
Yeah. This morning, we have about 40 to 45 Zoom participants.
Yes.
And then we have 60 to 65 Facebook Live participants.
Okay.
So altogether, this morning, we have about 110 participants.
Excellent. Very good. But it's not just the number of participants, it's the quality of the recipients.
Exactly.
So we had very high quality participants today so far.
The best of the best.
Yeah, the A League. Okay. Not yet.
And Ajahn Brahm, towards the end, we would like to invite everyone to stay behind for a few minutes so that Freddie can take some group photos together virtually.
Yeah, that's interesting how you can do that. But anyway, I'm sure it can be done.
I will switch to a grid view. So everyone's faces should be here. But in case anyone who prefer not to be shown, then you can turn off the camera.
Okay. Which one is that, Gerald? The cat?
This is Bobo.
Bobo. Okay. It's nice that animals can come in and also share the retreat space. I actually mean that because sometimes we think that animals don't have a deep understanding of Dhamma, but there was one cat I remember seeing in Brickfield's temple in Kuala Lumpur. It ran in from the street and it ran into the main temple and it stood in front of the Buddha statue, not squatting, but stood up with its paws up in front of the Buddha statue. It wasn't owned by anybody, it was a stray cat. But when it did that in front of the Buddha statue, it had a meal for the rest of its life. It was adopted by the temple in Brickfields in Kuala Lumpur. And Dr. K.C. Dhammananda, who was the teacher, the main teacher in that temple, at the time he told me, don't let too many people know about that, because sometimes that people will spoil that cat or try to tease it or something. No, it's welcome here. It's got a place to stay and always be well fed. But no, try not to make that cat look to be something special, even though it really was. And sometimes I really admire that wisdom, because sometimes people go to the temple not to listen to the Dhamma, not to meditate, but to see the cat. And that's nice, but the main reason for having a temple is actually to listen to the Dhamma and to also obviously make merit and also to meditate. But when you see animals like that, they're not the normal cats. I've never ever seen a cat do that before. Just all by itself, just stand up, first come in, and almost like its paws up, on its hind legs, standing, being able to worship the Buddha.
Not even Kit Kats?
No, they wouldn't do that. It was right in many other ways, but it was not able to actually worship the Buddha. Not in that way, anyway.
But Dr. Siri Dhammananda was very wise to say such words.
Yes, he was indeed.
Okay, it's 3 o'clock now. So hello everyone. Welcome back to the afternoon section of the Day of Kindfulness. So there will be another talk by Ajahn and then followed by a Q&A section. And yeah, that's it for me. The floor of the internet is yours again.
The server is mine. So one of the reasons we're giving this talk today, this session, is actually it's a birthday gift, for Della. And one of the greatest gifts we can give, the gifts of the Dhamma, is the gift of understanding what is stream winning, sotapanna, and how it happens. And so I thought that'd be a nice little gift from me to Della and to everybody else about how stream winning works. And of course, what stream winning is, it's an amazing attainment. It is when the Buddha said to his monastic disciples that when you get ordained and start wearing brown robes, the first ordination, which is the pabaja for both the monks and the nuns, so when that happens, you must always remember the place where that occurred. And also you must remember and even revere the place where you became a stream winner. And the third place you would revere is the place where you broke through to full enlightenment. Those are the three places the Buddha said in the Anguttara Nikaya, which should be remembered, revered, worshipped for your life. And it shows that the attainment of stream winning is one of those three major things where you actually see the Dhamma, understand it deeply inside, and also something which is real, as real as going forth and wearing a brown robe, and as well as real as becoming fully enlightened. So stream winning is a huge event which happens in your life. And I say it is an event. It's not something which actually grows on you day by day by day by day. The experience of stream winning is a time, a place, and a big thing which happens to you, that you see the world in a different way. Your views, way of looking at the world becomes purified. Especially you start to see things not in the sense of a me, a mine, but you see it in terms of a process, not an illusion, not a sort of a myth, but you see that what you took to be a me before is not really a me anymore. It's just this process of coming and going, which changes from day to day. And because there's no substance in there, it can one day just peter out and just disappear forever. There's nothing left. Now that's something which is quite a shocking experience, because you're seeing things in a way which you've never seen before. So what actually manages to precipitate, to cause those experiences of stream winner? And the famous text in the Judawedala Sutta was where the Buddha said that the two things are necessary, and that is the words of another person who understands the Dhamma, who's a stream winner or a once returner or above that. And it is also a word which he called Yonisa Manasikara, usually translated as work of the mind which goes to the source. And of course, when you say that word, work of the mind which goes to the source, it's a sort of word which can be interpreted so many different ways. It doesn't really have a strong meaning which people can relate to. Certainly the words of another are quite clear. I sometimes, to make it plain to everybody, explain it as the map of the territory, the descriptions from someone who's been there, who knows what they're talking about, who can explain it well, so you know what this Dhamma is, what streaming it is. And that's one of the reasons why it's good to listen to suttas. It's good to study the suttas and find out what exactly they say. But there's a problem there. It doesn't matter how regularly the Buddha says something in the suttas, no matter how clear it is, still when there is delusion in the mind, when you haven't become a stream winner yet, people always distort what's in the suttas. Just one thing which I think I've been talking about ever since you knew me, I've been talking about it even longer than that, was just the idea, the importance of the jhanas in meditation. So many people say, oh no, all you need is just upachara samadhi, just almost jhana, but not the full jhanas. And they keep saying that, but it's wrong. When you read the suttas, there's so many quotes. The one which I often quote is Majjhima 64. That's the Mahamalunkyaputta Sutta. And that's where the Buddha said it's impossible, it can't be done to get to the heartwood of a tree, the pith, without going through the bark and the sapwood. Now, because I was a rebellious nature, the first time I heard that, I thought, no, can't you go through the roots, or can't you go through the leaves? Can't you find a unique way of getting to the pith without going through the bark and sapwood? And I realized that, why am I even thinking that way? The Buddha was supposed to be someone who said, Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo. It's well expounded, not by tricks, not by metaphors which have weird meanings, a clear teaching of the Dhamma. That's what the Buddha said. So if he said that, it must be true, and of course it is true. The only way to get to the pith of a tree is to go through the bark and the sapwood. And it's the same with, he said, just the same, in the same way. Someone's got it there. I think it must be Freddie. He's always good at that, getting the quote for you. That The same, you cannot get to abandon the 5 lower fetters. You can't even know what they are until that you've gone through the jhanas, the deep meditations, not just neighborhood concentration or neighborhood stillness, but the real thing. Real jhanas are necessary to be able to do that. And so, even though that's so clear, and I cannot even understand why anybody could actually reject that teaching and misinterpret it. Nevertheless, I remember years ago, a very famous Western monk, a great scholar monk, I had an argument with him because he said, oh no, maybe that's not what the Buddha means. And I just got one of the quotes here, just on the chat box from Ping Pong. He said that there's a group in Thailand is saying that you don't need jhanas. If you get the jhanas, it will just get you stuck in some heaven realm. And any of you, I hope, have for yourself, instead of believing monks, not even monks like me, not even nuns, just look it up for yourself. You find it is just so clear and it's repeated so many times. So what that means is you have the words of another, you've got the teachings of the Buddha, well recorded, repeated many times, but nevertheless, people can still manage to distort those teachings and teach those distortions to others, which means that people can't ever get those deep states of stream winning and once returning and non-returning and full enlightenment. But because you do have the words of another, but you do need a little bit of experience and trust in the integrity of those suttas to be able to look at them on face value in Pali if you can do, because there's lots of distortions when we translate. And of course, one of those distortions, this is just something which I've been fighting against for years and years and years. Even a couple of days ago, we were visiting American Vietnamese nun who's visiting Bodhinyana, and she has been training in Burma, and she was telling me that where she was training, that she was saying that there's not just jhanas, you've got to also admit that Kanika Samadhi is also important. And Kanika Samadhi, Kanika means momentary, no one argues about that. If you call it Kanika concentration, momentary concentration, that can make some sorts of sense. But you notice independently for years, I've been noticing that Samadhi does not mean concentration, it means stillness. Things not moving, stabilizing, being still. And that's a powerful experience to see stillness in the world, and see stillness in the mind. Peace. If it's moving, it's not peace. It's not still. It could be concentration. It's a different phenomena altogether. And the idea of momentary stillness, you translate it like that, it just shows just how impossible that is. It's what they call in English an oxymoron. In other words, two words together which mean the opposites, which don't belong together. If it's stillness, samadhi, it lasts. That's one of its characteristics. So you can see there, the word Kanika Samadhi never exists in the suttas or the Vinaya. The Buddha never said that word, not once. That's one of the great things about our modern time. You can go into suttas, in the Pali version, click a couple of words and find out where they've been said. You find out they weren't said at all. So you can check that out for yourself. But then, when you make it stillness, it takes away a lot of dead ends of misinterpreted teachings and instead replaces it with teachings which will lead you to the path of meditation, of stream winning and beyond. It's one of the reasons why study can be okay, as long as you're studying the right thing and interpreting it in the way which the Buddha intended. It's very hard to see why people want to have interpretations from other places, other sort of commentaries and Abhidhamma and other stuff which wasn't in the teachings of the Buddha. All those are extras which are there. Now, even things like the Abhidhamma, I get into, people argue with me for this, but you have to be rational, logical, and see when the Buddha taught not the one the Buddha taught, when those teachings were collected together, this is in the sutras and in the Vinaya, that it was after the Buddha passed away, it was Upali. He was just a barber before, but got fully enlightened. He was an arahat. And he recited the Vinaya. And it was the Ananda who recited the Pancha Nikaya, the 5 Nikayas, which everybody knows to this day. There's the Digha Nikaya, the Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and the Khuddaka Nikaya. The miscellany, there was no mention of Abhidhamma there at all in the first council teachings. So it's very easy to understand that was not the word of the Buddha. I know you mention that because if we want to know the word of another, it has to be the word of an Aryan. The word of the Buddha is the best, but you have to know what are the authentic teachings of the Buddha. And then when you find those authentic teachings, what are the authentic translations of those words? What are their meanings? And when you do that and use common sense, when these words are translated in this way again and again and again through many suttas, the suttas, the 5 Nikayas, are very long and very detailed. There's enough information there for everybody to see the consistency of the description of the path and the consistency of how those terms were important or not important. The little things, this always comes up in my mind when the Gopakamoggalana Sutta, where this was after the Buddha passed away, and Venerable Ananda was the go-to person to ask any questions about how the Buddha taught. And when somebody came to ask him, what type of meditation did the Buddha teach? And the answer was just 4 types of meditation. 1st jhana, 2nd jhana, 3rd jhana, 4th jhana. That's all. And it's teachings like that which you read again and again and again. You're willing to correct your old beliefs, if you find that another belief is more authentic, more authoritative. But you okay? Okay, but then what you find is that there's a great deal of consistency in those sutras. So the word of another is not that hard to find out, to discern. And if you can find out that word of another and then follow it, it's consistent from one Nikaya to another Nikaya to another Nikaya. I'm talking about the Digha Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Majjhima. It's consistent. So there must be something there which is some truth. So a lot of times we teach the sutras. The reason I'm talking like this is because at first Freddie asked me to teach a sutta today. But instead of teaching one sutta, I thought I'd just do that overview of the suttas and to say that the word of another can be discerned if you have truth as one of the most important parts of your character. If you believe it, you don't believe it, that's not the point. If it's there, this is what the Buddha said, please accept and understand it. I said accept it first of all. That's the first part of being a stream winner. Having the word of another, realizing this is an enlightened being, one of the Aryas, so you can trust it. And then you go and see that that's not enough for you. Belief is not enough. You have to go to those places and experience them for yourselves. I often say this to people, that I've never been to Paris in my life. I live quite close by. I've been to France many times, but never go through the capital of Paris. I've seen photos of it, read descriptions of it, read novels about life in Paris, but never actually been there for myself. So you're always missing a full understanding of what that life must be like in Paris. The same way you can read about jhanas, you can read about stream winning, you can be inspired by all the stories of people who became enlightened. But if you've never been there yourself, you'll never have that full understanding of what those states are. So the words of another is only half the solution to the problem of understanding the Dhamma. The second half is again this word, yoniso manasikara, usually translated as work of the mind, which goes to the source or wise attention or something. It's more than that. Because as you all know, the Buddha also said, we have to have some consistency with what the Buddha said in one sutta and what he said in the other sutta. He said the way to get to stream winning is through the Eightfold Path. That's the way. Eso wamago nati anyo dasanasa visuddhya. That's in the Dhammapada. This is the only path, there is no other way to the purity of insight. That refers to the Eightfold Path. So there has to be that, not just meditation like I keep on going on about, has to be that the basic right view supplied by the word of another, and also this right motivation, sammasankappa, motivations of renunciation, letting go, saying no, motivations of kindness, and motivations of gentleness. That letting go, kindness and gentleness is important. That's Eightfold Path. And then you have the three, right speech, right action, right livelihood. When you have such motivations of renouncing, letting go, motivations of kindness and motivations of gentleness, you can see how your precepts automatically fall into line with how the Buddha taught. And then just you have this wonderful term called samavayama. Samavayama, again, if you translate it as right effort, you might miss out on what it really means. Sometimes that for vayama, we have another word which is close by, like virya, energy. And the word vira in Pali, it also means like a great hero. They have people who are willing to sacrifice anything, for the job which needs to be done. They always have the simile of the king's elephant who can go into battle and won't protect any part of his body, willing to sacrifice his tusks, his ears, his legs, anything. And it's like someone heroic means willing to let go of anything for the sake of, in this case, in practice, for the truth, for freedom from suffering, understanding, what is this being, what's it made of, which goes from life to life and which suffers joy sometimes and pain sometimes. Why? And so this is where we have this heroic energy instead of effort. And if you look at the four right efforts, it's usually the energies of renunciation, letting go of any bad qualities which are in the mind, making sure that you prevent those bad qualities from coming in the first place. It's not so much effort as wisdom power, kindness, in order that those qualities don't come in your mind. That's why I've often mentioned the story of the anger-eating monster. A monster comes into the palace. This is actually adapted from the Yaka Samyutta. This monster comes into the palace and you say to it, get out, you don't belong, get out of here. And you find the monster just gets bigger and more ugly and more of a problem. And instead you say to that monster, welcome, monster. You're kind to it and gentle to it. And that monster gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it gets so small it goes completely away. It's what the Buddha called anger-eating monsters. That's the way to overcome negative qualities in the mind. Yes, I do know that in the Uttakasantana Sutta, the Buddha said that sometimes it is actually the last resort. Press the tip of your tongue against your palate, grit your teeth, and drive that problem out of your mind. With respect to the teachings there, it always seems a bit strange to me. That's not the sort of thing which you do, except if it really, really, really is the last option, because you're going to have to keep driving things out of your mind again afterwards. It creates tension, not freedom. But anyway, and the other ones, how do you develop good qualities in the mind? Like kindness develops good qualities, peace. How do you keep them in there? Just like you keep a happy Bodhinyana International Foundation. If it's a happy, joyful place where people can go, of course you will grow and be prosperous in a proper way. Same as Bodhinyana Monastery. We've got more monks in there this year than ever before. And sometimes it's a problem for me. Because so many people you have to teach, and so many people you have to look after, and they all want a bit of your time. And I think I should be more mean, more nasty, so people were afraid of me. Of course, I can't do that. Instead, this is the nature of Ajahn Brahm, and so I just have to somehow just find the time for other people and also for my own rest. But nevertheless, it's a consequence of when your kindness, good qualities come in and bad qualities disappear. And that's actually what the four right efforts, for want of another word, a better word, means. And so a lot of the four right efforts is about restraint, saying no to things, not allowing these little qualities, bad qualities to come into your mind in the first place. Say no at the beginning, and of course they just don't come in, and your mind is pretty pure and peaceful. And that allows the mind to actually to practice the satipatthana, the seventh factor. And I often point out, I'm just talking to people I've talked to so many times before, often pointed out that in the four satipatthanas, the most important phrase is that Vinaya Loke Abhijado Manasang, which I don't need to argue this, I think you've heard me say it many times before. It means having restrained the five hindrances. It's a whole argument for what that means, why that means that, but that's actually how even the commentaries explain it. And it has validity from the suttas. So you have to have abandoned those five hindrances, restrain them, weaken them a lot before you can do the satipatthana. And of course, the satipatthana, if you look at, say, even the first satipatthana, you're just watching your breath, first of all. And as that breath gets more and more refined, of course it leads into the jhanas. You can't stop it. This is the nature of the mind. And so even there, it leads into the eighth factor of right stillness, samadhi, where everything becomes very calm and peaceful. Now, this is actually an important part of getting into the stream winning. It's not just looking at the sutras. It's not just understanding the Pali. It's not just discussing it with enlightened beings. This is actually where you go to where those teachings are pointing you to, the path. And when you walk that path, amazing things happen. These similes which I give, they're similes which I found the most useful over many years. And one of those similes is the simile of the tadpole and the fish. Fish can never understand water. born in water, lived all its life in water. How can it understand water? You can read all about water. You can study it. You can discuss it with other fish. It will never have a deep understanding of water. Tadpole is different. It starts off the same as a fish, having little understanding of what's going on. Water is always there. How can you know what it is? But then the difference between a fish and a tadpole is one day the tadpole becomes a frog. And when she becomes a frog, it can hop out of the water. It can leave its usual habitat. And this is what happens with the human being. When they learn how to be still, okay, you can call it meditation, you can call it mindfulness practice, I don't care what you call it. But when you get really still, so your five senses disappear, not seeing anything, hearing anything, smelling, tasting, touching, but your mind is really aware. And it's not having the thoughts about those five sense worlds. It is actually still. And those five sense worlds vanish. And then you have the jump outside of your usual habitat. And when you can jump outside of your usual habitat, that is when you can experience the mind, freed from the five senses, freed from the body. Sometimes I wonder, even doctors, people who do anatomy, people who do autopsies, do they really understand the body? Do you really understand your five senses? Sometimes I say, how can you? Until those five senses have disappeared totally. Only then can you have a fuller understanding of what these five senses are. When they're active, that's all you know. It means that they can continue to delude you. And it's the same with when you get deeper into the meditation, you become really totally still. And the thing which is missing in the meditation is the will. And I go on about this a lot, but it's a very good simile. How can anybody know what the will is when you're immersed in it? You don't always use the will, but it's there for you at any moment, any time. You can decide to turn this Zoom podcast off, or you can increase the volume, or whatever it is you want to do. But it's always there. And then happens, the whole thing disappears. Will is gone. That's the most obvious thing in the deeper jhanas. You're stuck there. When I say stuck, it means that the will is not apparent for you. You can't decide, you can't do, you can't choose, you can't think. You're frozen, but perfectly mindful. Weird, but it's a mindfulness without one of its usual attributes present at all. The will is gone. And of course, when you come out afterwards, that's a freaky state. Say freaky state, it's strange, it's odd. But what it does, it lets you know what this will truly is. This will, and sometimes that will is the main part of the fourth khandha, sankhara. It's it's the volitional formations, volition, will. When you see what that truly is, it can be scary for you, but it can also be liberating. You're getting some wisdom. You're going to the source of the problem. And of course, the other part of the problem is your sense of consciousness. I'm not talking about the five consciousnesses of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, but the mind consciousness, the knowing, if you like. And to see that, the Buddha said so many times that it would be better, this is it from the Samyutta, it would be better if a person could take this body as a self. At least look at my face. You've seen my face before. It hasn't changed that much in the last 2 years. I got a new pair of glasses. But other than that, the face is recognizable. I look at Gerald's face, it looks the same. Reddy's looks pretty much the same. but the mind changes much faster than the body. So there is a sense of stability in the body, but we all know it gets old and fades away and dies. But the mind fades away and dies much faster. So said the Buddha. How many people can accept that? They don't know what the mind is. But in this deep meditations, the will is gone for a while. And then you got the mind consciousness. And that is there. And that is just stable. When you come out afterwards, you get a good understanding of what it is. I say it's stable. It does change from jhana to jhana. And the difference between these jhanas is this less remaining. More and more things disappear. If you look at how the Buddha described these, in the first jhana, 5 senses have gone. In the second jhana, the last movement of the mind, vitaka vichara, is gone. In the third jhana, piti is gone. In the fourth jhana, sukha is gone. It describes these states as things vanishing, disappearing, going. And what that's telling you, these things aren't stable. They're not permanent. They can't be yours. And that teaches you a lot about how to be a streamer. These things that don't belong to you. Just imagine that much, just the will, even let alone the consciousness. When you realize the will is not yours, you're not in charge, you're not in control. You imagine you are. Sometimes you perceive it that way, but then there's many times you think, why did that happen? I didn't choose that. And you're true, that's correct perception. You didn't. But then, when the consciousnesses also start to disappear, then you realize that can't be you either. You're getting this, not just information, you've had the information before, the word of another, the paratagosa. Now you're having the experience which tends to justify and confirm what you read about in the books, what you heard about from other monks. It's actually working. And you understand now what it means when these things disappear. What the will is, what the mind is. A lot of these things that we think we know, because we've read it in the books. I can think I know what Paris is like, see it in a movie or something. But if you haven't really been there, been fully aware when you're in Paris, how can you ever really claim you know Paris? How can you ever really say you know non-self? You haven't actually been there, felt it, smelt it. These are just metaphors. There's no feeling or smelling inside the jhana, obviously. But when you've seen things disappearing, you come back afterwards, it changes your view. It's a powerful state, a powerful transformation. And you do need both of those. The words of another and the experience yourself of going to the source. The word yoni in Pali, it means like a womb. Now that's where your body comes from, the womb of your mother. Remember, Ajahn would also make that statement. When people asked him where was he from, he would say he's from his mother's tummy. He didn't say he was Thai or was Laotian or from the east side of Mubon. He said he was from his mother's tummy. I know some monks have said that when they've gone and people have interviewed them. Yeah, where were you born? Remember Venerable Sunyo, who did a retreat recently, said, oh, where are you from? You've got a strange accent. It's not Australian. I said, yeah, I was born from my mummy's tummy. That's not what we meant. What country? What are countries? It's much more accurate to say that each one of you, you are from your mum's tummy. I always like to, this is a little anecdote to make it a little bit more light. Ajahn Santuti, you know what country where he was born? He was born in Indonesia, because people say Australia or Vietnam. His mother, just incredible woman, so brave. She She was a refugee and she left Vietnam while she was pregnant, really heavily pregnant, with a person who would be Santuti. And she gave birth on the way in an island off Indonesia, part of Indonesia. So they stayed there for a while after the birth and eventually got settled in Australia. So he was actually born in Indonesia as a refugee, but of course he never claimed any citizenship in that land. He was just a refugee and then eventually became a citizen of Australia. So, where are people from? But anyhow, this is where, when we can understand just how when these things pass away, fade away, that's the yoni, that's the womb, that's where you're really from. I always like it when some people, when they are born, they do strange things or say strange things. That was part of the talk which I gave last Friday night, Friday night at Dhammaloka Center, and how sometimes kids, they can do weird and strange things when they're born. Sometimes say in a different language than the language of their parents. Why is that the case? Because at that time, if they were born in Australia, they're not from Australia. They still identify from their previous life, their previous mummies, their previous daddies. So anyway, that this is where we go to the real source of things. And when we go to the real source of things, our will and our knowing, our mind knowing, our consciousness, then when we see what they are, just penetrate that truth. It's not an essence, but a flow of events, one causing another, which causes another, which causes another, which causes another, and nothing going through one to the other, like a string of beads with no string going through them. There's one bead after another bead after another bead, and nothing connecting them except cause and effect, a process. That's why the Buddha talks about not annihilation, not continuation, but the third option, what he called the middle way, the second description of the middle way. That's in the Kachanagota Sutta, of a process, cause and effect, one thing leading to another. And you see that in the deep meditations. You see that these things aren't always there because they've disappeared, sometimes for hours. So what happens is that when you emerge out from those meditations, when the mind can analyze it, and these are huge experiences, and the 5 hindrances have been overcome. One of those, doubt, that thing which perverts your memory of what happened, not to actually to be truthful. When the 5 hindrances are active, even your memories of what I said a few minutes ago are not accurate. But anyhow, when they are accurate, when doubt is overcome, what you've seen, is 100% true. It's not you trying to fool yourself. It's a different type of perception now. This is real, true, accurate. And that means that you've actually seen something. And because you've had the word of another, had it explained to you from someone you can trust, and of course, the best person will be the Buddha from the suttas. And you have those two things together, the word of another and the experience of deep meditations, where the 5th hindrance is gone. Then what you see is truth. And that just shatters so many of those defilements, the poisons, as I sometimes say, the delusion, the wanting, and the ill will. But they usually say greed, hatred, and delusion. Delusion I like, not ignorance. Ignorance is not enough. Delusion and the wanting. What do you want? you find out that wanting, which is so close to will, this will is not yours. It's a bit of a waste of time. Not total waste of time, but a lot of waste of time. And ill will. When no one's in control, how can you get angry when people do stupid things? So those sorts of things, those delusions slip away. Most importantly, your idea of a self, a me. It's nice and cool to say you don't exist. You can make lots of jokes about that. But then, when you realize how truthful that is, there is no Ajahn Brahm. But there's this process which you can recognize as Ajahn Brahm. I often say the same jokes, the same similes. And so that's that continuity which gives you the recognition this is the same Ajahn Brahm who came to Hong Kong a few years ago. But it's not quite the same. Never will be. So anyway, that's the 45-minute talk on seeing no self for the first time, and then knowing that that's a stream winning. Well done. You are on the way out of here. And that's a nice little talk, a little gift for the birthday of Della. So she never needs to get reborn again, at least, at the most, 6 more lifetimes.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, now we have opportunity for Q&A.
Thanks, Ajahn. It's very nice. I usually only hear these things when I go to Australia. Now I hear these things in Hong Kong.
Yay! And in Thailand, and in who else is there? I still got
Malaysia.
Malaysia, okay, and even Sri Lanka. I saw Upali is
Yes.
listening. Yeah, great. Don't know where else. Anyway, you're
Ajahn,
welcome.
shall we have a break of, I don't know, 5 minutes?
Yeah, have a break of 5 minutes, and then
Okay.
we can come back again and get the questions and answers going.
Thanks,
Excellent
Ajahn.
suggestion. Good.
Ajahn Brahm, is it getting very cold in Australia now?
In the mornings, yes, it can be quite cold, but I've been in much colder places in my life. Over in NBM, that Newbury Buddhist Monastery in the retreat center, which is the project which I'm spotlighting today and next week. Over there, they sent a lovely photo. They were inside the car when it was snowing in Newbury. I mean, real snow. Very spooky. But after a while, you get used to snow. You wear better clothes, beanies and scarves and stuff, and you survive pretty well. We often notice that even the kangaroos, they manage to survive in the snow. After a while, you find your body can adapt so well to different climates. But the nice thing about Newbury, that snow is very rare, and all the buildings and the rooms, if you go there where you stay, they're just beautifully insulated. People told me over in Newbury that the designs which I did here in Perth, that they actually were old-fashioned ideas of building. Only single glazed windows, hardly any insulation. And now what they're using in in Newbury in Victoria. Very good insulation to the windows, and everything has got insulation in the walls. It's much higher quality of building. And even, maybe this is Venerable Mudito, he's got in slab heating, underfloor heating. So you turn that on and the concrete slab warms up and it's just really warm in there. Trouble for me is I like cold. And so Ajahn Nisarana was using the hut I was staying in before I came. And he said he turned it down, but it was still really hot. Too hot for me to sleep well at night. I didn't know how to cool it down. I had to just turn the temperature down and wait for a day for the heat in the slab to actually dissipate until it became comfortable again. But it's a very efficient way of heating a building, a room, the underfloor heating. It's what they use in Korea, South Korea. Very efficient, but you have to make sure you get the right temperature because it's hard to change. It takes a day or two to go up a degree or down a degree. So it's very well insulated, well built.
Wonderful. By the way, talking about Newbury Buddhist Monastery, one of the nuns is attending your event today.
Yeah.
That is Venerable Santa,
Yeah.
who recently returned to Hong Kong.
Yes, because her mum passed away.
Yes.
So I'll do some chant. I have done some chanting already for your mum. So it's wonderful you can be there for everybody and calm everybody down. Yes, it's your mum. She does pass away, but these things happen in life. She doesn't just disappear. Obviously, that stream of consciousness just goes to a new body, a new realm. So you can wish her really well and no need to get too upset.
Thank you, Ajahn.
I hear your voice. Very good. Excellent.
Yeah, I totally understand death is a process, and I'm really blessed with all the support I've received and all the brainwashing from you, especially.
Yeah.
Honestly, there has been lots of challenges here and there, and I just keep brainwashing by your monastic talks to keep me back on the path.
Excellent. How's your family? Are they respecting you?
Well, they are not Buddhist. Even talk about the funeral arrangement, we were having some discussion, but I'm glad that I managed to see my mom
Yeah.
before she passed away.
Oh, you did. Well done.
I did, and then I was like, my mom was actually pretty clear in a way that I asked, may I know, are you a Taoist or a Buddhist?
Yes.
Yeah, and then she said Buddhist.
That's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, so she actually wants a Buddhist funeral service.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, yesterday the discussion was about the funeral service, whether it should be in Tao or in Buddhist. And then with that, my sister changed my mind, so it's gonna be Buddhist.
Oh, good. That's not so important. The funeral is just for the people left behind. The funeral is never for the person who's died. Because at that point in life, they don't mind. You can do whatever you want with my body.
But I mean, for me, I really feel more important to respect the person's wish to do the service they want, rather than what other people want. Yeah. And I'm really glad that when I was next to her, I learned her mantra, the Vajrayana mantra.
Yeah.
And she was so smart. She was like, how come you know? Because she knew that I would not do those type of chanting. Yeah. And then I was like, I learned it from you, Mom.
Good. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I kept telling her, I just kept chanting next to her.
Good.
And I told her, I know you're in pain, but I mean, just keep remembering, this chant.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. It's the kindness. The kindness. No one religion or path owns kindness. So you can give that kindness in whatever form you feel is the most appropriate for your mum and for the rest of your family members.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yes, I'm trying my best to also help my family transition
Yeah.
this challenging period.
Ah, yes. Okay. So, shall we start the Q&A?
Yeah, sure, Ajahn. Like I said. Okay. Few things.
Yeah, I can't see the whole thing, so I've got to get this thing and just the
Okay.
corner thing. Okay. Okay.
You okay now, Ajahn?
Yeah, just moving this up. That's better. Dear Ajahn, how can I maintain a beginner's mind in different aspects of my practice, e.g. meditation? Thank you. A beginner's mind is something which doesn't carry any burdens of the past. That's a nice thing about a beginner's mind. Especially don't think, oh, I'm hopeless at meditation. I tried meditation, it didn't work. If you're a beginner, it's like the first time you meditate. You're not holding anything from the past. That's a nice way to have a beginner's mind. Okay, next question. Dear Ajahn, a Dharma friend got COVID and they didn't follow the government's rules. Oops, that question's gone. Where's it gone? I sent him some information but didn't reply to me. He still went outside and I disappoint him. I had to be kind to his behavior and let him go my anger. If it's a Dharma friend, it has to be their choice, how they respond. The government's rules. Sometimes you don't follow the government's rules, you may get into trouble. The most important thing is that you may give trouble to other people. And that's one thing you should always keep in mind. So if you don't follow the government's rules, sometimes the rules which governments make, even in Australia, they're just so wide. And sometimes for most people they make sense, for other people they don't. So you always don't criticize a person unless you really know why they are disregarding or not following the government's rules. He didn't reply to you, didn't feel he needed to. Remember, no one controls another human being. So you still went outside and you're disappointed in him. Yeah, but he needed to do that for one reason or another. So how to be kind to his behavior and letting go of my anger? Please know that you cannot judge another person why they don't do the things which other people do. There might be some reason behind that. And before you know that reason fully, it's hard to be critical of them. So for him, give him the benefit of the doubt. With anger, this is an old metaphor I used in my own practice such a long time ago. I noticed when I got angry at somebody, it was like I had a trial in my mind and he was the accused. And then I would be the prosecutor. All the reasons why he shouldn't have done that. He should have known better. He's endangering other people's lives. I was the prosecutor and I never allowed a defending attorney to speak at all. I was the prosecutor, but then I was also the judge. I sort of metaphorically banged the hammer, guilty. I justified my anger. And then I decided to act in a different way. Whenever somebody irritated me or did something which I thought was wrong, then I would have a prosecuting attorney, but I'd also always make time for a defense attorney. Maybe they weren't thinking in their right minds. Maybe there was other pressures on them. Maybe they didn't really understand. Maybe they just hadn't got all the correct information. And in the end, I allowed the defendant to create enough doubt in my mind that I could never be angry at anybody. I could never sort of be a judge and say guilty. There were always uncertain verdict. That's a much better way of dealing with other people. Because I know people have done that to me. They've said, Ajahn Brahm shouldn't have ordained bhikkhunis. Ajahn Brahm shouldn't have done it this way. They don't really know what they're talking about. But you forgive them because I know they haven't got all the right information. So that you don't get angry at them. So you're kind to behaviors, you're kind to other beings, because how can you be a judge and a prosecuting attorney at the same time? It's not fair. So forgive him, give him the benefit of the doubt.
And Ajahn, I think I need to do some adjustment first because I would like to remove the unanswered question.
Okay, yes.
Also, I don't want to see everyone to see my screen. So I would like to share this to myself.
Okay.
Meanwhile, next question.
My son is psychosomatic. His condition is getting worse. Please let me know how I can help him. Psychosomatic. Is he really? Because when you actually say that somebody has one of these characteristics, is sometimes you put them in that box, you put that in that little prison, and you interpret things which they do as psychosomatic. I think probably a lot of times you'll find he's psychosomatic, at least he behaves like someone with psychosomatic tendencies, but other times he won't. This is one of the things which I was very happy when I went to Singapore some years ago and gave a talk at a mental health conference, and the talk was well received, and one of the gentlemen who sort of applauded my statements was the head of he was a Christian, and he was the head of one of the units in the mental health complex up in the north of Singapore. And I asked him, he said, well, what parts of the mental health units are you working in? And he was a professor, the head of the unit dealing with schizophrenia. And I asked him, said, how do you treat schizophrenia in Singapore? And that's when he made this wonderful statement. He said, I do not treat schizophrenia in Singapore. I treat the other half of the patient, which is not schizophrenic. And when I heard that, he just heard my talk, which is almost the same, saying going into prisons and seeing there's no such thing as a criminal. It's just people have done criminal acts. Just one act or two acts doesn't make them a criminal for life. There's more to them than that. And the same way, he said, yes, some people exhibit schizophrenic behavior. They're not schizophrenics. There's more to it than that. And I just put my hand up to him and said, yeah, well done. Glad that somebody in Singapore is actually challenging the normal way of classifying people into categories. And once you classify a person into categories, you put them in that prison cell. It's hard to get out of it. So see if you can see some parts of your son's behavior, which is not psychosomatic. And just almost, if it's possible, I don't know the full condition of your son, if it's possible, almost ignore the psychosomatic behavior and reward the behavior which is not psychosomatic. And because people like rewards, they like praise, they like encouragement. And then after a while, you find that that good behavior will take over the so-called antisocial behavior. Now, that was why over in United States, when I visited there once, I found there was a gentleman who started a business who was making a fortune. He was actually training dogs over in New York City to pee in the right place. So they would take them outside, into a park or next to a tree somewhere. And if the dog would actually pee in the right place, this dog consultant would actually dance, sing a happy song, do cartwheels, and just really overdo the celebrations. Yeah, you've done it. And it was celebrating so much that that really worked for the dogs. The little puppies would only celebrate, would only do their poo and their wee outside in the proper places, never in the apartments. Because even the dog liked to be praised and liked to get that positive reinforcement in its life. But then I was there in the United States for about a month. And when I got to San Francisco, I found out that they had a problem in their business. With one of the gentlemen in New York had his dog in the apartment and was watching some baseball match on the TV. And then somebody hit a home run, and the person in the on the couch jumped up, punched the air, shouted happy songs, and that's when the little dog pooed on the couch. It was the conditioning went in a way which they never thought possible. But anyway, the positive reinforcement to a son who is psychosomatic, see if you can just reinforce a good behavior. He's not sort of psychosomatic in the sense that that's all he is and all he ever will be. There's more to him than that. And your job is to see that part of his behavior, which is much more than the psychosomatic stuff. Reinforce that, praise that, and see if that can grow. This is not just a theory. Again, there's a couple of people who have schizophrenia who are monks in my monastery. And I was really afraid when I first ordained them, because sometimes they really take up a lot of time if they go a bit psychotic. But we gave them a chance, and they're wonderful monks. So if ever you see them, again, some of you know who they are, but I'm not going to tell you because that's not fair on them. But they're excellent monks. And I'm so happy you gave them a chance. They were much more than the schizophrenia they had. Clinical schizophrenics, taking clozapine, I remember that name of that now. But they're wonderful. It can be done. Okay, get another question.
Sorry, Ajahn, let me adjust again.
Okay.
Next question.
Yeah. What is your view of watching the pain, sadness, and being kindful? Sometimes it's seeing like pain, it's not yours. It's just a visitor. The sadness is not yours, it's visitor. It's not the way you always are. Pain comes and pains go. Sadness comes and sadness goes. And if you buy into it, in other ways you think that's, you're who you're going to be for the rest of your life, well, that's really so tormenting. So instead of actually seeing it as some permanent attribute of yourself, you see it's something which is just coming into your life. And instead of even trying to get rid of it, care for it and learn from it. It's a teacher to you. And one of the people who changed my views on pain and sadness was this gentleman who, I'll just do it briefly, who could get into jhanas because he had such immense pain in his back that that he could. It was actually the spur to him to meditate properly. It was the only place he could go to where the pain disappeared. And he came years ago to my center over in Perth, and he said, "Look at all these people in the back of the room after the meditation class." So these are all the doctors and nurses from the pain clinic at Osborne Park Hospital. They just want to find what the heck's going on, because he had enormous pain in his back. And they did CT scans of his back, and it was there. They could see it registered on the equipment. Intense. And he could actually just be happy and peaceful without, even with the pain. He just went past the pain, not trying to get rid of it, but caring for it. It can be done. And a lot of the time, you've got no control over the pain. So just be with it. And it's only a small pain I had when I had a toothache, but there's no medicines at all in the northeast of Thailand in the temple I was staying in at the time. And I just no way I could sleep. No, I could watch the breath for more than a couple of breaths without the pain just coming into my mouth. And it was impossible to actually be still. Tried walking meditation, I was running meditation. And when I tried everything I knew, every strategy to try and escape from that pain, I was only 1 year as a monk. The last thing I did was to say, okay, let it be. And that was fantastic. 1 minute you were just, at your wit's end, suffering immensely from the pain in your mouth. And the next moment, not even a second, the pain totally vanished. And I just blissed out. And just going from pain and desperation to peace and bliss. And I'm not exaggerating. That was just really shocked me. How can that happen? Went back to my room, meditated, then eventually went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, I had a toothache. Not a big one, but the very fact you can take pain which was going to keep you awake all night and then vanish it in a second, not a second, less than that. That would just really rocked me that such a thing is possible. So there's other opportunities. The pain and sadness, take it as your teacher to learn from. It's amazing. Don't try and escape from it. Learn from it. Okay, another question? I know I won't talk too much, so I'm trying to get more questions.
Just discover that my previous method just doesn't work. So I have to do it on the same screen. Because otherwise, the same question will keep coming up and up and again.
How do we help persons with mental illness on the path? That's a much better way of expressing it. Persons with mental illness rather than mentally ill people. Because they're not mentally ill people, it's just a sickness which they have for a while. And one of the ways to help them is actually to realize that they're welcome. They don't have to be cured before they can fit into society. One of the stories which I gave, which made people cry, was we had mental health week over here in Perth, and they asked me to go and give a talk to the clients of mental health. This is not the professors and the psychologists and psychiatrists, but the people who they were treating. And when I went in there, I told them the simile of the forest. And I'm sure you've heard this simile before, but it's a beautiful simile. When you go into a forest, I've lived in forests all my life, forest monk, and I've never seen a perfect tree. Every tree is bent and crooked, branches have been torn off by the winds or storm, marked by the bushfires, twisted and bent. They are all damaged. Every tree is damaged goods. Check it out for yourself, even in Hong Kong, you go to a park or forest, and you'll find out perfect trees don't exist, except in people's imagination. So if you try to be perfect, you've got mental illness and you try to be perfect, you're asking for something which cannot be reached. Instead, when I see all those twisted and bent trees in the forest, I tell those with mental illnesses or damaged people, you belong. You belong just as every damaged and bent tree belongs in the forests. Because a lot of time people with mental illness feel that somehow they're stigmatized and they don't belong. They can't be part of society. They can't be part of a family. Of course you can. Number two is those who are the trees which are the most bent, the most crooked, the most damaged. It's like the people who are the most crooked and bent and damaged and twisted. They're my favorite trees. You go in China Grove. Often I tell people, you have time when you're on retreat to go for a walk somewhere, have a walk in the forest and find your favorite tree. And I guarantee it'll be one which is twisted and bent and damaged. That's just beautiful. And I tell that to the clients of the mental health system here in Australia. They just burst out crying. They wept. They needed so much to belong. And they felt so bad about themselves, what they'd done, when it wasn't their fault. And to give them a sense of being welcomed and looking at the good qualities in themselves. That meant so much for them. So a lot of times, if you have someone with mental illness in your family, that will help you enormously. You don't help them, they help you. Okay, next question. Would you please tell us about what Dharma has brought you and give us a couple of daily examples of what you used to be like without Dharma versus with the practice of Dharma? Okay. When I was a kid, okay, I told this story because it's about birthdays. This celebration, Deva's birthday today and my birthday next month. But when it was my mother's birthday, and I was only about 8 or 9 years of age, I wanted to get my mother a special birthday present. And so I saved up a bit of money. It wasn't wealthy at all. And there was a delicacy in London at the time of pie and boiled eels. And so I went to the shop. I never bought a boiled eel. I asked for a live eel. It wasn't that much. And I put it in a little shoebox. I already had a shoebox and I had this birthday wrapping paper. And I wrapped up the paper, had a ribbon. I tied a nice bow as best as an 8-year-old could. I had the greeting card on there. To Mummy, with love on your birthday from your son, Peter. And I handed it to my mother, a surprise present. And I must have been an excellent actor, even at that age, because my mother never suspected anything. Very like, I've got a nice surprise birthday present from your caring son. And she opened it up in front of me, took off the ribbon, take off the wrapping paper, and then opened up the box. And I say I could not have trained that eel any better. The eel just lifted up his head and looked at my mum in the eye. And my mother screamed. I was smart enough even at that age to have what these days they call an exit strategy. I knew exactly where I was going to run and hide for a couple of hours until the heat went down. So that's what I was like when I was a kid. Scare the life out of my mother almost. Of course, I would never do that these days, because in these days, it's not just about having some fun for yourself, it's how that's going to affect other people. So that's one of the reasons why what I used to be like without in the times of Dhamma. Sometimes you don't really know too much, you're a bit too self-centered. And being a monk, when you let go of your sense of self, you've got more energy and effort and more focus on the well-being of others. It's much more fun too. Anyway, I think that's enough. Happy New Year, okay? I always experience nightmare after practicing meditation and constantly feeling fear inside out. when I was meditating, I feel peace. When out of it, I feel fear. Please enlighten me. I did mention the nightmares which I had when I first became a monk. This was in Bangkok. For the first 3 nights, I would wake up in the middle of the night in Bangkok with a nightmare. But the nightmare was that I was a layperson. And when I opened my eyes, I saw my robes neatly folded next to my bed. Ah, I've made it. I'm really a monk. And then I closed my eyes and go into a deep sleep. That was a nice nightmare to have. It was almost psychologically reinforcing the point that I wanted to be a monk. And even from that early time, the first few days as a monk, I realized I was going to be in this for life. But you experience a nightmare after practicing meditation, constantly feeling fear inside. I don't know what the nightmare is. I'm not sure what meditation you're doing. But if you, when you're meditating, you do kindness, not just peace, not just mindfulness, but kindfulness, then you find the attitude of kindness, that softness, makes you invulnerable. So things can't make you afraid. Even remember my preceptor, who was Somdet Buddhajan. In the last years of his life, he was the head monk of Thailand, supposed to be the head monk of the committee of which was running the Sangha there, but was practically the head monk there. And he told me once, just chatting with him, that when he was a young monk in Got Samoy, time before it was famous, before it was a resort, that's where he was born. And his teacher, his basic training of being a monk, he had to sit in there's a coconut plantation, and he was sitting meditation there. And he got into a very nice meditation. When he came out of the meditation, there was a very venomous snake coiled up in his lap. And he said, well, what was most amazing, he had been told about these snakes. They're very dangerous. The one bite and you're dead. But because it was coiled up in his lap and he finished his meditation, that he didn't have any fear at all. No anxiety, but just a lot of kindness to the snake. So he just carried on meditating until the snake uncoiled itself from its nice warm lap and just slithered away, never harming him at all. And he said that was one of the most amazing things he had, because he was usually terrified of a snake like that. And now one was in his lap, could kill him just in a second, and he wasn't afraid. So a lot of times when the kindness comes in your meditation, not just the peace, the kindness, then the fear vanishes. It's not there anymore. Real peace that lasts when you come out of meditation. So try more kindness there. You find just after you meditate, get so much kindness, it's really difficult to feel fear of anything. Sometimes I feel I could be stupid. Sometimes I should feel more fear. I don't feel any fear at all. Okay, let's try another question. Okay, how to navigate and maintain your Zen in an organization when you have 3 bosses driving you crazy? 3 bosses? Can't you just have one boss? Actually, only have one boss at a time. And they can't drive you crazy unless you let them. They may tell you to do things, they may criticize you, and that's not really a good way of running any company or organization. The nicest thing to do is just to be peaceful and don't react to what they say or what they ask you to do. How can other people drive you crazy if you don't let them? You have power. Don't give your power to others. Just, you have 2 ears, as I often say. And those ears, one to go in, one to go out. Don't keep stuff. Always Ajahn used to tell me, he said one day you'll be answering many questions from many people, and really serious questions. And he said that when you have to answer people's questions, just look at it as you're a rubbish bin, a trash can, and people can put anything inside of you, any question. It's, I don't work for an organization with crazy bosses, but then I have to empathize with someone who does, listen to them, answer the best I possibly can. But then said afterwards, once a question has been deposited in your rubbish bin, please make sure that your rubbish bin has a hole in the bottom, so you don't keep anything. Once it goes in, it goes out the other end. So when you walk away, even from this Zoom conference, I don't keep anything. So the next person to ask me a question, I'm empty and recipient. I can listen to them with a beautiful empty mind. So whatever you do in your organization, try and be a rubbish bin with a hole in the bottom. So your bosses can do all sorts of words to you. You listen to them respectfully, but you don't keep anything. Okay. When will physical retreat be available in Perth or Hong Kong? In Perth, it's available now. We're starting a rains retreat. And I haven't checked out yet, I've been really busy, but the Singaporeans usually offer a physical retreat at the end of the rains retreat in October sometime, finishing just before our Katina Day. As far as I know, that's happening. If that doesn't happen, then there is a retreat over what we usually call our November retreat, and that'll be happening just earlier on in October. So we're starting retreats again now. So we're back working in Hong Kong. It's when the situation there calms down, when it's possible again. And of course, we can go over there and do a retreat. We're just waiting for the convenient times. Could you please provide some examples and guidance on how to destroy karma with karma? Thank you. Actually, the idea of destroying karma with karma is the only real way I know is actually when you do become a stream winner, that some of the bad karma you've done in the past is destroyed. Not really destroyed, but it just can't reach you anymore. The connection between you and that past has been cut. They call it a hosi karma, karma that was. So you do some deep meditation, you listen to the Dhamma, you follow those two things, the word of another and the work of the mind that goes back to the source, the deep meditations. That's the most excellent karma you can do. And once you get to be a stream winner, then you don't really have that sense of self left, which is connected to what you did in the past. You forgive it, you learn from it, but you don't want to ever punish yourself for it. That idea of guilt and punishment is obliterated from you. It makes no sense. You make a mistake, you learn from it rather than be punished. You don't send yourself down to lower realms ever again. I often mention the door to hell realms is always open. You walk out whenever you want. Whenever you feel you don't need to be punished. There's other ways of learning. And that's a great example of how you don't really destroy, you detach. You let go of the bad karma. But also, I want to point out that we always look at the word karma as something negative. Do you want to destroy the good karma which you've done? You've got huge amounts of good karma. So how can we not just destroy it? We don't want to destroy that, the good karma. How can you get in contact with that good karma from the past, that big bank account of merit, and actually make use of it, for your health and well-being? And of course, it's very easy to do. All you need to do is just you sit down and think of all the amazing, wonderful things which you've done. Freddie, you've organized this event today. That's huge good karma, amazing good karma. We should sit back afterwards and say, yes, it worked. We had a wonderful day today. And any sort of act of goodness which you've done, any contribution of kindness, any generous donations, whatever it is, don't just make the donation and think, okay, I'm finished with that now. Please remember it. That's what I do, honestly. If I've helped someone in my cupboard and I get a letter or an email, someone praises me for saving their life or something, I print it out and put it in the cupboard. And I can actually get those out at any time I look at those and think, that was me who did that. And that's making sure I make use of good karma. We've done something, it's really helped somebody. Why can't we use that as a source of energy and inspiration for ourselves? So if people have actually praised you, Freddie, or Della, it's your birthday today, or whoever's listening, please write it down and just keep it, laminate it. So whenever you feel down, you say, I've actually done some really good karma. And often, even just all this work I've done over these years, building monasteries, or just last year, building the nuns' monastery, sacrificing a lot to ordain bhikkhunis. And that was just over 12 years ago, 13 years in October. And I mention that number because after 12 years as a bhikkhuni can be a preceptor. Though I didn't realize this, that now one of those bhikkhunis, Ayahasapanya, is now the abbot of Dhammasara, and she completed 12 years, so she can be a preceptor. And so I went to Dhammasara for the first ordination, the dual ordination of four bhikkhunis in front of the nuns community first, and then the monks community. And she was the preceptor. And then I didn't realize, what you'd done. And I just got so high in that, so much energy and inspiration. There's a lot of work and some pain behind that. But then afterwards, you've done something wonderful. Dhammasara is a beautiful monastery. And now, the head nun there is able to give ordinations to women. And it's as if what you started 12 years ago has now come to almost like fruition. Now we have bhikkhunis and they can create their own bhikkhunis now. And it's beautiful. And that's where I look upon the good karma, which I had done there. Other people as well, but I was focusing on my good karma and I just got so high, inspired, so much joy for a long time. So don't just think of the bad karma, think of the good karma. Don't destroy it, make use of it. Don't ignore it, all the goodness you've done in your life. Fantastic. And I've known a lot of you, so many of you, just amazing beings. There's such amazing good karma. So well done.
Ajahn Brahm,
Yes.
4:30 already. Would you like to take one more question, or would you
Sure.
like to move on to the metta meditation?
That's up to you. Okay, one more question and then we'll
Sure.
finish off afterwards, yeah. Okay. Dear Ajahn, if our Buddhist goal is disappearing, then we just aim at do not exist in this universe or still exist but in a different form of existence. In Buddhism, we don't have goals. If you have a goal, that's where you want to be. This is where you are, which means you have suffering. Just suffering. So instead of having Buddhist goals, just like be here, especially when you're meditating, and have no goals at all. Just being here with no place to go, no place to be, nothing to achieve. And just even contemplate that. It's a beautiful thing where you give yourself some freedom. Even if you're uncomfortable, you're not trying to get rid of the discomfort, just being kind to it, being with things. then you find there's so much comfort comes up by itself, and so much peace, and so much freedom, so much depth. Never ever try to get into deep meditation. It's told that so many times. If you try to get into jhanas, you will never get there. If you want to get these beautiful things you read about in the suttas, then it's what Ajahn said. It's like sitting under the mango tree, perfectly still. You don't aim for anything. You hold out your hand, and then a mango will fall into it. Holding out your hand is just remembering the kindness, but not doing anything. The mango falls. Not just any mango. Stream winning, non-return, once returning, non-returning, our psychic powers, deep meditations, all works. They fall into you if you're still. You don't aim to not exist. You just be still. You don't aim for anything. And not this existence, not any other form of existence. All existence, like Bawa, the Buddha said, is like a bit of feces on your finger. Even a small bit of feces stinks. Okay, so those are the questions. If I didn't answer them appropriately, I apologize. I tried my best, but I'm a damaged tree too. I'm not perfect. So you try your best.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Very good. Okay, so now we do a metta meditation. Okay. Hey, anyway, is that yes? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And for half an hour, 20 minutes or 25 minutes,
Mm.
do we have the blessing afterwards?
Yes. So 20 minutes, maybe?
Okay, 20 minutes will be.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Very good. So if you'd like to close your eyes again. And with the eyes closed, learn how to relax to the max. With your attention on your body. How are your legs feeling now? When you were listening, hopefully you were listening to the questions and the answers, not being so aware of your body. Now you're aware of your body. Fidget it if you need to. I'm going to fidget my bottom. Moving your legs away from your body or towards the body so they are comfortable. Metta meditation starts with metta towards your body. Being kind towards this body in which you will have to live. And I make sure my butt is comfortable and my back is nicely arched. Not too much, not too little. It's like I have a conversation with my body. I ask it back, are you comfortable like that? I care for you. I'm giving you metta, loving kindness. Not just as words, but I'm going to move you and twist you to make sure that everything is nice and easy and pain-free. Right. Tell my body, the insides, all these organs inside, are you comfy? My nose is itchy, so I'm going to scratch it. That kindness in the beginning is just like your mother will look after you. Be kind, caring, wishing you the good health and comfort. Let's check my shoulders, make sure they're nice and loose. I do that because in the old days I used to have painful shoulders, and now there's hardly any pain in them at all because I know how to relax them. My arms and my hands, I put my hands one palm in front of and top of the other, just so they're comfortable. They feel good like that. But sometimes I ask my hands, is that how you want to be? You can change if you want to. I'm kind enough to give you flexibility. Thank you. Say my hands, but we're okay like this. I'm not a control freak. And then I go get up to my neck, head nicely positioned on top, and then also to my face. Make sure all those muscles are relaxed through kindness. If I feel any tension in my face, I realize I'm wanting something. I'm afraid or anxious or depressed or whatever. Those emotions are played out on the face. So I get the emotion of relaxation and kindness, letting things be. And I feel safe. That kindness comes from a sense of safety. I don't need to protect anything. And then I feel my whole body nicely relaxed. When I was speaking, I wasn't aware of my body, so I wasn't in the best posture. But now, it's amazing. My body is really at ease. It's almost as if my body says, thank you for adjusting me. Thank you for caring about me. My body is my friend and contributes to the peace of the meditation. And then I let the body go and go inside to my mind, to peace. Make peace important. When I make peace important, it grows. In the present moment, in silence. And then from there, have enough silence, enough focus. I can start the loving kindness meditation. I'm going to do the one now, which many of you know, about the little kitten. I use my powers of visualization, imagination, to imagine I'm walking around somewhere and I found a little kitten. The kitten has been abandoned. You can hear it meowing, but its meow tells me that it's in terror. That little kitten has been abandoned. It's tried to trust people, but has been untrust animals, being rejected and hit and bitten. You can imagine just what that little kitten feels like. Homeless, alone, hungry, and terrified. How can a little animal survive? It does need some protection, someone who can find it food, a safe place to sleep. When I hear that kitten meowing in such desperate pain, I feel I can help. I need to help. I start walking towards the source of that sound. When I get close enough to that sound, I can see these two eyes. That's what I can see in a dark, safe corner. That little kitten is looking at me. And as I go closer, its head goes deeper into that hole. It's scared, it's terrified. It doesn't know my character. I could hurt it so easily. Then it can't ignore me. It needs somebody to look after it, to care for it. So I speak to it. Maybe it doesn't understand my language. It certainly can understand the softness of my voice. I try to keep eye contact as I spread this loving kindness. Dear little kitten, I will never harm you. It's not a burden for me to look after you. It's a privilege to care for you. Please let me keep you safe, to feed you, to find you some lovely milk which you can lap up. Please let me nurture you, keep you warm and safe. A nice little basket for you. And little by little, the cat listens to my voice and sees this loving kindness going from eye to eye, through our eyeballs to the sight. It comes out from its hole just only halfway. It needs to trust somebody, and maybe, just maybe, it's found someone it can really truly trust. I extend my hand to that little kitten. As it gets closer and closer to the kitten's face, it kind of sniffs my hand, allows me to put my hand under its belly so I can very gently lift it up. But I notice something, that cat's fur, even kittens, is usually so clean, but this fur is all ratted and dirty. I can even feel what must be the congealed blood of scratches and bites. That poor kitten has been through such a terrible first few days of life. But I reassure it, still keeping eye contact. Dear little kitten, the door of my heart will always be open to you. My heart is big enough that you can come in as well. I will look after you, feed you, play with you. Enjoy the privilege of you being a friend. I lift up that kitten, put it close to my chest. It lets me. It trusts me. For the first time in its life, it feels safe. And I can hold it very gently and see its eyes close as it starts to purr, fall almost asleep. Dear little kitten, I'll wash your body later on, to clean it up, to give you some food, to look after you, find you a nice place to stay close to me. Dear little kitten, I will care for you. I don't just say may you be happy and well. I describe how that kitten can be happy and well. There's so many monks in my monastery, they would love to have a little kitten to look after. And little by little, that cat falls asleep in my arms, giving it care, love and kindness. And for me, it's easy to give love and kindness to someone who really needs it, my imaginary little kitten. As I'm holding it on my chest, it's close to my heart region. I imagine my heart region starting to get stimulated. I can actually feel what I sometimes describe as this warm, loving kindness energy coming out from my heart into that little kitten, warming it, easing it, freeing it from its fear and pain. And as I'm spreading that loving kindness through the body of this kitten, from its little tail to the paws of its tiny feet, and to its head, to its little whiskers and ears. Really, what a beautiful animal this is. And what a privilege it is to be able to find it and be able to care for it. And I feel the joy of giving loving kindness. And when that joy, that energy of loving kindness is strong enough, that's at that point I switch the image from the little kitten to another person in my life, a good friend, maybe a relation a long distance away, someone you know who also needs your loving kindness. They may also be newly died or in hospital they're sick. Imagine them standing in front of you. They, like the little kitten, need your loving kindness, need a sense of peace, safety in your presence. And you still have this tingling feeling in your chest above your heart. That's the loving kindness coming out from you again, like a rays of golden healing light. That person may be thousands of miles away, or might be right next to you. You spread that loving kindness out to them. My dear friend, alive or passed away, you're my relation, my loved one. I care for you. And this loving kindness allowed to come out from your heart, spreading right throughout their body. Imagine like a golden light going up to their head, down to their toes, the tips of their fingers, and all inside of them. As you express your caring energy of loving kindness towards this person you're so close to in this world, emotionally. And the more loving kindness energy you give out, the stronger that source of loving kindness is. Tingling in my chest area is really easy to be aware of now, because lots of energy is going out. And the more energy goes out, the more energy is generated inside. My dear friend, I wish you peace, freedom, safety, happiness, health. All those things which are important to you, may you have them. And then, what I usually do on a retreat, I imagine all the people who are listening in on this retreat. Usually the people right in front of me in the hall, but now, Zoom retreat is each one of you, and especially Della, because it's her birthday. Because I zap Della, actually everybody who's on this retreat, this beautiful loving kindness. It doesn't matter, you may be in Hong Kong and I may be in Perth. Space is not important. You zap beautiful force of loving kindness, the warmth, the feeling of somebody cares for you. And as you care for me, care for all the people on this retreat, may you all be happy and well, free from pain and suffering, having joy, finding peace, finding the highest peace, being a stream winner in this life before you pass away. May you all be free from suffering, at peace, at ease. Any pain which you have, may it be small, never overwhelming you. All the kindness you give to your family and friends, may that be recognized as a source of great value in this world, more value than money and profits. May all beings be happy and well. Would you spread this love and kindness throughout the whole world, to all beings, even beings you sometimes thought were your enemies. They're not enemies. They're just different ways of doing things. May all beings be at peace. May all beings feel safe, feel free to see the sunrise, to enjoy the beautiful sound of the birds, to feel the rain on their bodies, the laughter of the animals in the forest, and the smiles of their relations, children and loved ones. May all beings in this world be at peace and share our loving kindness with each other. And last of all, there's always usually one person you miss out. That's you, yourself, the being which bears your name. Imagine, don't open your eyes, imagine you're sitting in front of a mirror. And there you see you in front of you. This being who's had so much pain in their life, who worked hard, and all your hard work, all your kindness and sacrifice are often not recognized. Doesn't matter, it's worthwhile doing. And now you look at yourself. Are you at peace with yourself? You're not perfect. You're like a crooked tree in the forest. But I said the bent, damaged trees are the most beautiful. I can see that in a tree. Can you see that in yourself? When you can see that in yourself, you find peace with yourself. Not perfect, but you're more than good enough. May I be happy and well. May I be at peace. May I feel this wonderful sense of freedom. May I feel this contentment. It could be better, but it could certainly be worse. Right now, this is good enough. So that idea of having to strive for something more can be just put aside for a while. It's a gift of kindness to yourself, to be at peace with you. Look at your body. You may have sicknesses and diseases. That's just part of the body. The body's doing its best. Your mind. Your mind. And then you feel lots and lots of energy inside. So much you don't want to stop, but we have to soon. So having given this beautiful loving kindness towards yourself, bring the loving kindness inside your heart. We've done this many times before, like drawing it in. Leave the warmth outside amongst your friends and for yourself, but the light. Bring the light inside until it's all focused like a solid ball of intense light, with compassion, metta, just above your heart, which you can imagine like an open lotus flower, pure, clean. As the loving kindness hovers over that lotus flower, imagine the petals of that lotus closing up, slowly, to keep that loving kindness in your heart for use whenever it's needed. Please keep your eyes closed. I will now give the blessing. Nati me saranang anyang, Buddho me saranang varang, Etena satchawajena, Sotite hotu sabada, Nati me saranang anyang, Dhammo me saranang varang, Etena satchawajena, Sotite hotu sabada, Nati me saranang anyang, Sankho me saranang varang, Etena satchawajena, Sotite hotu sabada. You may open your eyes now.
Sadhu,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you all for giving me the privilege of giving this one-day mini retreat for you.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay, so now what do we do next?
Before we are leaving, would our chairman, Jerry, or our secretary, Della, want to say something?
Would the birthday girl like to say a few words?
Oh, first of all, thank you everyone for participating. We are more advanced in preparation of birthday for Ajahn Brahm. So we have set up, thanks to Freddie and Gerald, we have set up auction link so that people can have a look, and all the donation will go to
Newberry Buddhist
Newberry
Monastery.
Buddhist Monastery, NBM, yes.
And Della, if I may add, and if I could remind everyone, if you have the, to celebrate Ajahn Brahm's upcoming 71st birthday, please visit the auction site that Della just mentioned. There are some precious items, including Ajahn Brahm's old robe and his beanies as well. So if you would like to celebrate Ajahn Brahm's birthday from afar and also support all his initiatives, please participate and visit the website. And thank you to Freddie for many sleepless nights for putting this site together. And if you can look at the screen now, we just show you the Ajahn bear. This is a limited edition with a bear wearing Ajahn Brahm's old robe, actually. The cloth is from Ajahn Brahm's old robe. And Freddie, could you please show everyone Ajahn Brahm's robe as well?
Yeah.
So this is Ajahn Brahm's old outer robe. And this is a collector's item and a piece of Buddhist history, in my humble opinion. So if any one of you would like to support Ajahn Brahm, this would be something very precious for you to consider.
And also an Ajahn Brahm mug that's donated. That's also used by Ajahn Brahm before. So a collectors has bring it out again to support Ajahn Brahm. If Ajahn Brahm remember drinking from this mug before.
I remember that one, yeah.
That's a very luxurious mug.
Oh, yeah. Chocolate mug.
So Ajahn, would you please maybe tell our participants a little bit about the current status of the project in the Newberry Buddhist Monastery so that they know what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yes, you can just go online and see the progress of it. We think now the walls are going up, which was wonderful to be able to see. It's not what on the screen a few moments ago. That's not Newberry. It's not what we do there.
Total relaxation.
Yeah, not quite the same. But anyway, you can see some of the buildings go, oh, they got a little movie there. That's an old one because now that's the blessing of the place we did last, I think, Waisak. So all the slabs have been poured, the walls are going up, and hopefully we'll be able to finish by the end of the year when we can start the first retreat. It cost a huge amount of money. I apologize for that, but that's by according to all the requirements which are needed by the government, and also to make it warm enough for in the winter time and also cool enough in the summertime. It's on a hillside, so it gets lots of wind. So because of that, they need special things to build it with. But anyway, it was costing a lot of money, but now eventually, the last time I heard, we were short of, I think, $550,000 to pay the builder. So that's all that's left for this stage of the building project. And so I thought my birthday, to see how close we can get to raising that last amount, 550 Australian dollars. Not 550, 550,000. Australian, told us, no, if we don't make it, then we can always raise funds at another time, but we'll see how much we can do. So thank you again for helping out for this. That retreat center is, I will teach there. I visit there. You can see me at the site there with my sunnies on, sunglasses, because it was very sunny on that day. And we try our best to support. When it's our birthday, I always like the Asian tradition. You never want to get anything for yourself. It's always seeing if you've got a good project and raise funds for other people. Something which, that you can be proud of. You come and visit there and see a beautiful meditation retreat center where people can get really peaceful and still, get to be stream with us, get into deep meditation. And it's a wonderful thing we can do. So that's actually my sort of goal for my birthday, to see how much we can raise for the Buddha Society of Victoria, to see if we can finish this off.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So before we leave, shall we take a group photo? I'm going to change to
That's my hair.
and in case you don't want to appear on the screen, you can turn off your camera. And everyone, you can take your screenshot. I'm going to take mine as well. 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Is that done?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you everyone. So shall we all do a big sadhu again?
Sure.
I'm going
Yeah.
to, allow us-
Sadhu.
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 Very good.
Ajahn Brahm, we are most
Thank you,
grateful.
Ajahn.
We're most grateful to
Thank
you
you,
for
Ajahn
taking the
Brahm.
time
Thanks,
today
Ajahn.
It's great to see you all, and it's
to
great to
teach
be able to
us
serve.
and
Thank you, Ajahn Brahm.
lead us a metta meditation. Thank you so much. We're most grateful to you, Ajahn Brahm.
And I'm grateful to you for giving me the privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Ajahn Brahm.
Take care.
Wishing you well and happy
Bye
always.
bye. Bye bye. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna leave now. Bye.
Ajahn, bye-bye.
Bye bye.
And Della, happy birthday to you one more time.
Thank you. Sadhu,
Thank you.
sadhu.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
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 So everyone, I'm going to end the meeting now. So, thank you.
Freddie, thank you so much for organizing this.
Thank you, Freddie.
You have accumulated lots of good karma today, as Ajahn Brahm said.
Thank you, Freddie.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you.